Hello, everyone. Very good morning, good evening, whatever time zone you guys are. And welcome to yet another event of CSQA, a community of software QA professionals. CSQA, wherein we work on various events, and the main intention is to provide an enablement platform for each QA individual by asking them to be a speaker, to share their knowledge, to attend various events. So we can learn together, we can share together, we can collaborate together. And last week we do have a very good workshop series, first session of workshop series on DevOps. And this week we do have a really good webinar from one of the industry veteran in security testing domain, who is Vandana Verma. So Vandana, I have Vandana with me on screen. She is a seasoned security professional. She working as a security testing architect with IBM. She also chaired a board of director position with OWASP, which is the most popular security testing project or the framework. And also she has very good name in InfoSec and all the other communities. So yeah, very warm welcome to Vandana, and Vandana will share her views, her ideas, and we'll learn today that how to kickstart with application security testing. So thank you, Vandana. And before I move to Vandana, I request every one of you to join various social media channels of CSQA. We already have shared the links. You can be in our Telegram group. You can follow us on LinkedIn, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. So to get all the good updates and all. Okay, with that, without wasting much of time, I'm handing over to Vandana. Okay, it's all yours, Vandana. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Arish. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. So, today's workshop is around application security testing or security testing when it comes to QAs, when it comes to developers. I will share my views on what was my experience and how it helped me, and how actually we onboarded some of the QAs in security. Because when you are working on ground, it's easy to switch the domain, but a lot of people think that it's not that easy. So we will touch upon some of the points from my experience. I would try and share the resources more. I might not be able to like teach you each and every aspect. So that's when I have some resources from OWASP, from other projects or other communities, which might help you. And if you feel there might be something which might be left, so you can reach me anytime on my social media handles on Twitter, LinkedIn, anytime. Probably I'll be happy to share all those inputs. And I might not be able to give you everything in 1 hour, and I'll try to share as much as possible with examples. I feel that if you have examples, then you remember things easily. And that's what I feel. So I hope I'll be able to justify. So let me just go ahead and share my screen. I hope you can share you can see my screen.
Yes, we can, Vandana.
Great, thank you so much. So here the goal is to understand how application fits into multi-tiered architecture, and when they fit into multi-tier architecture, how we can ensure that there with the risks which are there outside the application, which are mitigated. And we have seen the applications getting breached. There are so many vulnerabilities in applications. There are risks that can be actually that can cost an organization a lot, and how we can have different principles which can mitigate application security risks. Here I mentioned 10 basic risks because I took it from the standpoint of OWASP top 10, but there can be multiple risks which are within that. Now here, when we talk about application security, or the whole setup, people think that I just land onto a website. Let's say, for example, QA has a website, and when we talk about that website, uh, I'll just open it. Would it be that simple? No, there will be a lot of things that'll be running in the background. As in when a user sits on a laptop, %csq.com, there are multiple channels where the information flows. It goes from browser to router to server and who not and what not. So the whole architecture gets followed, and people say it follows OSI model. And within that, there are multiple things which are there. Like within an organization, when you are hitting any of the website, there are firewalls, there are IDSs, IPSs, there are application servers, and there are multiple defense mechanisms which might be there, or web application firewall. So it's the whole system that runs in the background and that protects an application or the whole infra. So this is the basic web application architecture. I am sure a lot of you might have already seen it. Here, there is a client side, there's a server side. Now, when the client side, all the things that runs on our browsers, which are called client side functionalities, and anything that runs on the server side, all the languages, all the web services, those are called server side functionalities. And when we are testing an application, and here I am actually giving you an input from a QA website. Let's say there's a QA website which is already ready to go live. And let me tell you, when I started testing, that time code review was not that popular. A lot of people were not doing the secure code review. A lot of organizations were not doing secure code review. Or we did not have much of tools which were actually helping in that also. Like there were only picky tools which were there. And there was one thing that people felt that it was not necessary also, and they were only testing the website when the QA setup was ready, and then the vulnerabilities used to come. Like here, if you see that the website is ready to go live, and then security team would push in, intercept the traffic, and understand how an application behaves. And if there are bugs, there'll be an issue. Like the application would never go live, or application, I would say application would never go live on this specific date. Like, I have been in that situation wherein I have seen critical bugs and we had to stop the go live. But now, is it so easy to say that now I'm going to stop the go live of an application? I would say no. Practically no. uh, because there might be some concerns from the business side from different angles. So here we have to understand how much would be the risk. Can we mitigate the risk soon? How much will be the time when the vulnerabilities would be fixed? So we are going to touch upon those perspective, that where exactly we can start so that these kind of situations don't arise, wherein in the end security team says that no, you can't go live, and act as a blocker. And as a security team person, as working in different aspects of security and the whole system, I can understand that if there's a go live that is supposed to happen today, and if someone stops, it can be a huge hit. And if there are bugs that we found that in the end, so fixing that would be very very tricky. So as per a research, if you find a bug early in the life cycle, that might cost you like a $10. I'm talking about US dollars. And then if we fix the bug in production or even QA, it might cost you a huge amount. Now, why I'm saying huge amount? Because then you have to go back, change the code, understand the requirements, do the threat modeling again, and do the whole process again, which is very tricky, time consuming. You need resources, you need money. Now, this is an abstract framework, which generally I say that yes, people use it, organizations use it, wherein first an organization gathers the requirements, understand what exactly is the need of the client. I am sure you can relate to it. Some of you who are working in the testing space, they can understand there are requirements that come from the client, and when the requirements come from the client, um, after that, like once it's noted down, uh, then you analyze that how best we can fit it into the code. Now once the coding is done, it goes to the QA team, or teams who can test it. And then after that, it goes to production, and then the whole process goes on. But think about, it's is it so simple? No. It's not so simple. Now we are on cloud, we are going with the releases so fast. I have seen organizations who are releasing their features, their different items in 1 week. Like 1 week, I'm saying a big time. There are organizations in the market which are performing like 70 to 73 releases a day, and that's like too much. So when you have that, how about security, where exactly it fits in? So then automation kicks in. Actually, automation takes the forefront that yes, this is how it can be done. So when it comes to requirements gathering, um, there are certain requirements which come from the client team, all the team said, and understand that from the security standpoint, are we meeting the needs? And when that's done, there is a threat modeling that's done, which is the risk analysis, which is done on the application to understand that whether it's a high risk application or whether the application could be critical. So if the data gets breached, if an application gets breached, how much would be the impact? So a lot of organizations have started understanding the key behind it. Now, requirements gathering, we are good. We have done the threat modeling. Now comes the secure code review. Now, when the coding is happening, or we are done with the code review, with like the coding, it depends how the organizations do it. But I always suggest when you are making a change in the feature, or when you are actually writing the code, at that point itself, if you do the secure code review check or the check for vulnerabilities in that, it can actually reduce the time and efforts later on. Now, there's something that has come up, which is software composition analysis. That's been there for a while, but a lot of people are not touching upon it. And if you can think about, you have a code, you've written amazing code, you've checked it also, but while coding, there were some libraries which or dependencies as part of the code which were there, and you downloaded it from the internet. uh, like I have done it. I was writing something and there was a piece which was missing, and I downloaded. Now, when I downloaded third-party libraries and dependencies from the internet, did I document it? I might not have, or I might miss to, or if the team gets changed, or any other scenario, and if there is no tracking of it, what would happen? I have seen organizations which got breached because of such kind of things. And uh, and that actually can impact big time. Recently, people have started talking about the solar winds attack. Now go and check out that. That's like a whole supply chain attack, but like that. So if you are using third party vendors, third party components, it's important to validate them, understand where exactly could be a concern, because if one third party library is vulnerable, it can actually infect the whole code. It's as good as or as bad as the whole code is bad. So software composition analysis is also important, and understanding that. Now, I why I'm saying from the whole holistic purpose, so that when you talk about security, especially I'm speaking for the QAs, so you understand the whole picture, so you can get started with the basics and then come on boarded. Now, we do the vulnerability testing. It's like testing an application for security bugs. You might be testing the application for a good integration, how it look like in the production, or when it goes live, how will it actually look and feel. But we also test it from the security standpoint, like security testers. Now, there is one shift that has happened, which is for a good, that QAs also have started understanding that security is important, and they have amazing ideas, or sometimes good ideas, or better ideas than the security team. So I was working sometime back with some of the testers. They had so many good inputs to share when it comes to the security testing, because they understood that this is how the whole framework works, and this is how the basics work. So they started actually suggesting us that the things can be automated in this way, especially around proxies. And we were amazed that they also understand, they also are actually trying to help us out, and they're trying to become security champions. So that was really good part. And I am going to touch upon some of the open source tools also which you can leverage. Now, once you have done with all of that, defect tracking is equally important. Once you have found the bugs, if you don't track them, what would happen? uh, it's as good as not finding it. So why did you find in the first place if you can't track it properly? So it becomes important that yes, we find those bugs and track it. Now comes a point wherein, once you've done it, once you've found the bugs, so where exactly do you do that? I'm sure you must be tracking some bugs in Jira and a few other tools which are available. Remedy used to be there, and now, if there is an open source project, so you might want to leverage it, and especially the people who are working on their own applications, it might be really helpful, or startups or students who want to understand the whole concept. Now comes, you have done everything right, but the application is still vulnerable, has still bugs, which is quite common because there could be hundreds of bugs and we cannot fix all of them because of the monetary constraints or other constraints. How about leveraging the defensive controls and fixing it? So that's very very important. And uh, it's important to have something in front of the application, and that's when web application firewalls comes into picture, and the uh, the the projects that can actually block the attacks that might come on the website. So there are certain open source projects which can help in those things, and then there are commercial projects as well. And now, when all of this is done, how about we do the training and awareness, like right now I am doing? So, I am going to actually share some of the vulnerable applications with you, so that you can go back, download them, and start playing around with them rather than just going ahead and testing it on the live applications. So, if you test anything on the live application, that might be a concern, or that might actually put you in trouble. So I'm going to touch upon a bit on the bug bounty perspective as well. That there are platforms which exist, which you can take help from, or which you can join and do the pen testing from the security perspective, or testing from the security perspective, and that will pay you as well. And then knowledge management. What are the resources to look at? Shailesh, I have a request. If there's anybody on the call, can you please put them on mute, or put yourself on mute?
Sure.
Thank you. Now, once you go back, I would say that check out Security Knowledge Framework. So, what this is all about? This is all about so it's a knowledge base with a lot of vulnerabilities. That how a vulnerability can be tested, how a vulnerability can be exploited and fixed, and not just that, it also has code samples in multiple programming language to showcase that if if an attacker try and breach our application, or try and gain access to the application, how an exploit would work, or how application would get breached, so that we can fix our code. And at the same time, security knowledge framework has a requirements gathering platform. Like internally, it's built with uh, hundreds of requirements based on application security verification standard, and you can pick and choose from the requirements, and it can give you a good view on what can be the requirements in security and how the changes will happen. So you can pick and choose. Then comes a point, testing the application, testing the requirements. So there are vulnerable applications which are integrated with security knowledge framework. I remember Juiceshop is one which is integrated, and it has its own lab that you can leverage. So don't miss out on checking security knowledge framework. And code review checklist is one amazing checklist which actually can give you a view on what can be the flaws in code review, alongside It was updated in 2017. So if you want to add something to it, if you want to contribute to it, please go ahead and take a look at it. Now, if I talk about testing or performing the checks on the whole code coverage, then CodePulse is one project which you might want to take a look at. And if there is something that you might miss on, CodePulse can help. Now you are a tester. You understand that there are few use cases that you might need to test, and you might want to automate. You might want to do the manual testing. Now, when you're doing the manual testing, and even the automated testing, there are certain use cases, abuse cases, or negative use cases that you develop. Now, when you do that, uh, the similar thing happens in security also. So you develop security use cases. When you want to test against those security test cases, how would you get to know that what are the use cases that exist? So do check out cheat sheet series, which is one amazing repository for use cases, for vulnerabilities, for test cases which you might want to leverage. Even the attack vectors, which we say that the test use cases that are there. Even when I started using like the open source projects or the non-commercial projects, I actually was leveraging cheat sheet series. I created my own list of over 2000 test cases, and I used to use them against the application and test it out. Now here, cheat sheet series I have put in the code review. It is actually applicable for the testing also. Like, you can understand how an application works, then how an application can be tested for a certain vulnerability, how to fix it. So all those details are there. And some newer technologies, even about dockers and Kubernetes information is also there. So you might want to take a look at that. And Go Secure coding practices is something which is specific to Go Secure code. So if you want to understand how I can code the code, like I can do the coding for Go code securely, so you might want to take a look at practice guide which is there for Go code. Now here I want to give a disclaimer. People feel that the resources are available and they're 100%. When they take a look at it, there are few things which are missing. So with open source, uh, people are contributing in their free time, or when they have some time, or when they want to contribute back to the community. So things might not be totally 100%. So if you feel there is something missing, do go back and contribute. Now comes software composition analysis, which I was saying that it's important, and it's important to cover the holistic view, understand that how an application, like how code can be tested with the dependencies. So probably what I would say that like the dependency check and dependency track, both are really amazing projects which are contributing towards checking the third party libraries. And if you want to see how they work, on my YouTube channel, I've created a small snippet of it, which is like 10 minutes, so that you can take a sneak peek on these projects. So I keep working towards open source projects which might help the community and testers and development people or developers, so that you can get benefited out of it. Because I have been working very closely with the teams, and I understand that uh, the development teams are doing development in a good way, because that's how they are working, and testers are actually there to test. But when security angle comes in, sometimes it can be really time consuming, really burdening. But if you feel that yes, security is integral part of it, and I understand the security at least to an extent, then it becomes easy. So here comes the testing. So, one thing what I want to share is that when I started doing the web application pen testing, or when web security testing, I actually looked at Web Security Testing Guide, which is my first resource. And for the fun fact, I never knew that OWASP was a community. Now I'm serving as a vice chairman for OWASP. That's one thing. But when I started off, I never knew that there's something called OWASP as a community exists, or it can be a big organization. So I just got to know that, okay, testing guide is there. That's all. So it's a big book with a lot of information around basics that can be there from the security standpoint. So do check it out. You don't have to take a look at every section, but I would say look, for sure, look for the fourth and fifth section, which is about testing. And fourth section, it's amazing. Like it gives you the holistic view. Now when you are testing the application you're trying to understand, you might want to understand about APIs. Like, we have seen that there are increasing number of organizations which are using the APIs. Like, we all are using it. It's so common, even though people say it's something which is newer, but still people are using big time, organizations are using big time, and APIs are equally important. So do check out the API security project, that how we can secure the APIs, because we have done the API testing and there are certain flaws that come up that are very, very critical. So if we understand that there are certain points that where we can put some checks which can help our APIs being secure, so that can help. And that's when the API security team came up with the API security top 10 and API security projects. So just do check it out. Now remember one thing, when I am talking about these projects, you might want to know that how they work. So testing guide and security project is more about theoretical side, which can help you, and then you can do the working. But if you feel that you want to know in depth, I'm always available. The project leaders are there, which can help you. So I just want to make sure that you have the right resources available in this session, and you go back and check out all these resources. And then once you have questions, once you have noted down, you can come back to me and ask those questions, because 1 hour, it's like I'm feeling that it's been so many years in the security space, and I still feel that there's something new to learn every day, and there's something new to test every day. So 1 hour can be too little. Now, I've done the web application testing, I've done the API testing, but the app may be available on the mobile platform also. So if I miss to check on the mobile platform and that has flaws, what can go wrong? The data might the data might get leaked, or the app might be vulnerable to so many attacks, which can be a big concern. So mobile security testing guide is again covers a lot of basics around web application security, which provides the insights around the different aspects of testing the mobile applications. And now applications have started coming on kiosk and so many other platforms. So probably you might want to take a look at and understand how the things can be mapped to the like different platforms. This is one area which might interest you a lot, like automated testing using Zap. So the fun fact, there are organizations which are leveraging Zap, and they've created their own test cases. They have built on top of it. So even as I mentioned, that there's a place where you can load the test cases and test the application. You can integrate very well with Selenium and the other newer technologies which are there in the market, and test the application yourself. So this was an application which was developed by a developer and a tester, and the person was thinking that there are so many bugs that the security team comes up with. Can we test it from our own side, so that we don't have to do the whole rework? So they actually came up with Zap, and Zap is a really, really interesting project. We so we will be actually like, if you want to know more about it and the APIs that are there, then do check out the Zap project, and what are languages it supports. And even they're coming up with a conference which is specific to Zap, because there are so many facets to it, so many faces to it, and how you can automate it. Because I remember there are commercial tools which are using Zap for testing the applications, leveraging the APIs. Now, when we are doing the holistic picture around application, how about mapping the attack surface, understanding that what are the things that might be there online, and understanding that these are the external assets that we have, and map them accordingly. Now, why I'm saying that, because there might be certain servers which are there, which are public facing. Now they are not in use, or there are we have not in the list. So what happens if there are vulnerabilities on that? There could be big problem, or there are resources which are available online which should not be online. So all these things can be mapped. We can do the active reconnaissance using AMAS. That's one amazing uh, product or project. So I was speaking about, like, once you do everything, you require do the requirements gathering, you do the threat modeling, you do everything. But if you don't track the bugs, it can be as good as not doing it. So defect dojo is one project which is amazing project when it comes to defect tracking, and tracking all the defect in a way which can you can show it to the leadership, which you can track. Okay, these many high, these many low. And if you do the delta scan, then you can figure out which are the ones which are fixed, or which are the ones which are duplicates. So you can track it in an amazing way. So while I was speaking about defensive controls, so mod security core rule set and CSRF guards are two projects which are really helpful in when it comes to securing the application, or from the vulnerabilities. Like, if there is a vulnerability in the application and you can't fix it, but you have a WAF in front, it can actually act as a defensive mechanism, at least to an extent. So mod security core rule set is like a project which came up with the set of rules for web application firewalls, where mod security is a firewall, web application firewall, and core rule set combines with it. So there are rule sets which sets in front of the application and secure the application. Now, for all the developers and testers, do check out the proactive controls. Now, why proactive controls? Because if we know that these are the things that are there, and I can secure it, I can actually make sure that the checks that I might need to do in the development phase or in the testing phase, I can understand that what are those. Because if you don't understand them, I'm sorry, how will you fix them? So it's important to understand them. And proactive control is really great project which touch upon each aspect of prevention of vulnerabilities. And in the beginning is itself. And I think I got to know about this project very late. Um, but I would feel that if you know this project, this can be a really great project. Now comes training and awareness. This is the project for especially the QAs, wherein they can feel that how security testing works. And I remember checking the web goat long back. Like, when I started off my career, I started off with web goat, wherein it used to come in CDs, and it was a huge project. And now it is like everything is online. You can host it on your machine. Like, when I do the web application free training, web app security free training, I have a VM which has like over 12 applications, and webgoat is one of them. And think about that, VM is just uh, 1.2 gigs, not even more than that. And it has like so many applications. Earlier it used to take the whole space on the system and make the system slow, and then you used to do the testing. It was very tricky. But yes, if you want to experience the bugs, that how a bug would be there on the live site or in the QA, you might want to check out WebGoat. And along the same side, Security Shepard is another amazing vulnerable web application which is there for mobile and for web both. And you might want to experience the vulnerabilities which are there, from security SQL injection to broken crypto to broken access control to different uh, vulnerabilities which are there as part of the application. So this one project, Juiceshop, this is one very interesting project. So if you want to test out the security thing in your own teams, You can set it up on a server and ask people to register on it, and they can actually test out, and you can see the scoreboard, which team is there. Even when I was working with one of the QA teams, I remember doing this exercise, setting up the juice shop on my server on cloud, and I asked them to pen test, and I found that really amazing things. So probably you might want to take a look at and experience it. It's like a capture the flag, where you find a bug, you get a flag, you feed it into the platform, and then you see, okay, this is the vulnerability which you have found. So it's a great thing, a great project, and you just take a look at it. It is really interesting. So OWASP top 10 people talk about a lot. Now, when it comes to top 10, remember one thing: these are top 10 reference standard, or and it's, I would never say it's a standard, but reference vulnerabilities that are there. Those top 10 underneath has so many attack vectors, vulnerabilities attached to it, and then there are so many CVEs attached to it. So if you are looking at top 10, that might suit your organization well, but also you might want to tweak around it. And top 10 leaders also says that the project leaders who are working on it. So do check out the project as a whole, and don't take it as a standard. That's what I feel, and that's what they say. Take it as a benchmark, and then build on top of it that what could be the top risks for an organization. So when you have done it, you might want to do the checklist. Like when I started performing the testing, I was making checklist of different attack vectors and different things that I might want test case, like the test case that you create, right? You write down the test cases, and then you test the application against. And when I looked at web security testing, right, I was doing the same thing. Like I was creating the test cases. I made a good, or I would say nice Excel sheet way back. uh, and now after doing that, I started sharing it with the team and telling that, oh, if you don't want to miss a test case, security test case, you might want to take a look at. And then one of the teams said that, do you know about application security verification standard? And I was like, no, I have not taken a look at it. Now when I went back and took a look, like actually checked it out, I realized it already has the whole checklist, why I spent so much of time. And we all love that test cases in a form of a checklist. Okay, this check, this check, this check, and this really helps. So this is one project which is incredible when it comes to the checklist and putting down the things. It might not be whole, but it is amazing. I would say 80%, 90% complete list of checklist that can be there, and it covers the risk from uh, the basic level to a critical application that might be a finance application, which might have different test cases. So it covers all of them. I think as a QAs, you might really want to check it out. And alongside, when we are testing the application, we have mobile top 10, we have mobile application security verification standard, so that we can do the similar things for mobile applications as well. And when we are testing the risks for our web application, and we leave the risks for mobile, it can be really, really tricky. Right? It is like leaving the organization vulnerable to attacks, which could be because of mobile applications. Now, privacy risks. We've talked about a lot around privacy. Now, you must be thinking that I've not talked about. Do you think that when WhatsApp announced that they will be sharing the data with Facebook, didn't we actually see there's a boom going on saying that you're going to move away from WhatsApp and move to the other platforms which are more secure? But think about privacy risk. That was one thing where people started talking about privacy. But there are so many privacy risks which can be there in web applications, and there are countermeasures that we need to have. And those risks are equally important for a normal person to understand. for a QA to understand, for a security tester to understand, for a developer, for a leadership to understand and mitigate it. Because if we are not mitigating privacy risks, we can be in trouble because of all the privacy laws that are coming in, and that's when data privacy kicks in. You have like if I talk about California has CCPA, you have GDPR, like big time heading. Then you have a Brazilian act, and then you have Indian privacy bill is also talk of the town. People are talking about it and they want to have. Now, why? Because privacy is important for everyone, not just me, not just you, but for everyone. Now, when we have talked about privacy, are there any applications which can face automated threats, especially from bots, from tricky situations? So, if I talk about financial firms, e-commerce firms, they see a lot of bots and automated threats for web application. So, this one automated threats project actually really helps around that. Yes. Now, these two projects, which are very interesting, and which I keep it in every, I think, presentation of mine if I talk about testing, like snakes and ladders. How you understand in the form of a game. So it's like, I'm sure we all have played the snakes and ladder at home. So this is wherein the snakes are vicious things, which if you don't meet your requirements, it's gonna bite you, and then you'll come down. Your security posture will be reduced because there are certain checkpoints which we are missing. So it's a great board game, and at the same time, there's a card game which is like I've played a lot with a QA team of ours in an agile fashion, wherein there are certain requirements which are there on the cards, and we play with those, and we see that what are the relevance one, what are the not relevance one. So it's a good one. And the projects that I mentioned, all of them are listed over here. So do check it out. Now, when you are testing it, you've heard about Zap. There's another proxy which has a commercial angle also, but they have a community version called Burp Suite. So you might want to take a look at it. And that was good. That's a good project. Now, once you want to cover all of that, OWASP security assessment model is another project which covers every aspect of security and covers it full. And that talks about like different levels of maturity which an application might have, and make the teams understand that okay, these are the requirements, these are the things that we should have. Now comes a contribution. You've heard about all these projects. I've talked about security testing and touched it upon. I would say that I've not done the testing. Now, why I took it in a form of project? Because I have done the web application security testing trainings for 2 days straight, for a day straight. So it's not easy to cover that web app security testing in like 1 hour. But do check out my YouTube channel. I've created a small testing video which is only around OWASP top 10. But here, when you are testing, it's not just OWASP top 10. There are many things attached to it. That's when I try to cover all of this. And at least you should have some resources where you can look at. Because if, let's say, uh, if I ask you to move to security testing, will it be easy? You might feel, no, it's not easy. But it is not difficult also. When you know the right resources, you will take a look at it and start preparing for it. And when it comes to security teams and security community, it's so much welcoming that if you have questions, people will answer. That might be a little delayed, but people will answer. So whenever you're reaching out to any of the people who are working in the security space and who have found something, and you might want to take inputs from them, don't just say that hi. They might not respond. Always make sure you have your question ready and you share it with them, and I am sure people would respond to you, and they might be able to guide you in writing security test cases and guide you how things are done when it comes to security testing. So how you can contribute to the communities and these projects: you can write the test cases, you can help curate the bug trackers, you can help in documenting tutorials, blogs, and so many other things, that the way that you can do it. How do we move forward? So there are places around you that will have a chapter of OWASP or any other community. I would not say that just OWASP, but any other security community which might be around you, could be null, could be any other community. So do check it out and join it. So it's always good to have a space where you have like-minded people with whom you can communicate to, you can talk and speak in security language. And I would say before joining a community, I was just doing my normal work, and I didn't know that there are so many things to it. I was just doing the testing, and that's all. That I used to go to office, come back home, and that's where the whole thing was. But as soon as I was introduced to the communities, I realized there's so much more to security, and I can learn a lot of things. And that's how I started understanding about cloud. I started doing things around mobile security, and I could do a lot around the security space. And we all have to work together and work towards understanding the whole security. And now you must be thinking that, are there any conferences where you can go to? Are there any resources which I can look at? So community does provide it. There are resources which are available, starting with videos to blogs to whatnot. And I remember uh, null is doing a lot around the blog series now, so you might want to take a look at. So if you have any questions, you can reach me anytime on my Twitter handle or my LinkedIn. I am very much reachable, and I might be a bit slow sometimes because we all have work, we all have family, there's so many things around. But I will make sure to respond to your questions. Or if I might not be able to help, I will try and find the right person and help you out. So thank you so much. Uh, Now we will open it up for questions, and we can get started. So, can you please remove my screen from the? I don't see your stop sharing. I don't know why. Yeah, I think I tried to rush a bit on the on sharing the things. Shailesh, if you have any
Yeah, sure.
questions, please do let me know.
Yeah, sure. So there are a couple of questions that people have asked, and
Mhm.
I'll be just putting them down on the screen also, or people can also write on the chat.
So okay, so here on OWASP, do we need to have our own application, or there will be an application available for pen testing? The As I mentioned, there are so many vulnerable applications, which are not just by OWASP, but which are generally available. So for Node, there is DVNA, damn vulnerable node application, which is amazing application for testing. So do check that out. So DVNA is there, then security Shepard is there, WebGoat is there, and many ones. You just need to Google it, that what are the vulnerable web applications which are there. uh, for web, it's okay to understand, but how to use a mobile app? So there are vulnerable mobile applications as well. There is one I remember by a good friend, Riddhi, that's called Vyappi, VYAPPI. You might want to take a look at. And so there are so many vulnerable mobile applications which are there, so which can actually help you in testing. So you might want to take a look at. So how a web application can be testing, you can test the things. How a security shepherd is different from OWASP zap. Zap is a proxy. Zap is an interceptor. Zap is a mechanism where you can test the use cases against an application. Security shepherd is an application, like it's a application which you can test it. How Question to Vandana: how far would you suggest automated scans versus manual test? um So my understanding, and it's totally my understanding, wherein there are test cases which you might be doing manually, but the things that can be automated, that can save your time, will give you a playground to innovative more. So automated scans are good. They might not find everything, but they will give you an aspect. And if let's say we are in a kind of agile teams and we are talking about DevSecOps, DevOps, we need to test fast. So manual pen testing can be very tricky. So that's when people do the automated testings or automated scan. But I wouldn't say that you can totally remove manual pen testing. No, there are certain bugs which you might want to check it out manually, and that's when Zaps comes into picture. That's when Burp Suite comes into picture, and other tools comes into picture which can help in the manual pen testing and other aspects. So I am already from a QA web automation background. Where do I need to start with learning pen testing? Now you're from a web automation background. I would say take a look at web security testing guide and ASVS, which is application security verification standard. That's where you should start off understanding the use cases from the security standpoint, because you already know the system. Like for me, if I was not a security person, moving into security could be very challenging, and understanding the aspects of it could be understanding the aspects of application could be challenging. But if you are a QA, you understand the application well, you are doing already the whole automation background check, then I think it can be really great. It will save your time, it'll give you bandwidth to play around with the application, and you can do a lot of innovation around it. So probably do check out ASVS and the web security testing guide. And if you want to feel the labs, then SKF, security knowledge framework, is one project. Download it, set it up on your local system, and you're good. Okay, different people have different perspective when it comes to cyber certifications. I myself have done a lot of certifications. Like I had a time when it was a fever that I need to do a lot of certifications, but I realized that it's just a entry gate to get your CV shortlisted. When it comes to the security space, it's all the knowledge that matters. A lot of people are going for CH and this and that, and people are doing OSCP. OSCP is a good one, but I would say uh, if you don't get any knowledge from a certification, it's as good as not doing the certification. It might be just acting as a check gate. So that's what my perception is, or my understanding is. So you don't have a security testing in development cycle. Can you suggest? I would start off with saying that have some kind of projects which are open source for code review. So if I talk about if you have a code on Python, there's Bandit. There's so many other open source projects or freemiums. Now, this term is so prevalent now. Freemium. So do take a look at freemiums which are there for development, for secure code review. So probably that can help kickstarting the base. And once you feel that this is good, then you can go ahead with the commercial tool. So when it comes to security testing, automated scan by Zap can be good, but if you are a QA and you want to do the security testing, why not integrate with Selenium and automate it? There are APIs available. To check out Zap page, there are different APIs which are exposed, which you can take a look at. So why not integrate it in the whole system so that you don't have to make extra effort, go extra mile, and do the security testing? It becomes part of the whole system, whole CI/CD pipeline, so that you don't have to do the I would say you don't need to reinvent the wheel. How a technical support guy can start the pen testing without any experience? Bug bounty will help in that case. I think that's a good point. um, I think what I have started feeling is that if you want to test applications, go ahead with vulnerable applications first, and but understand the basics first. Then check out the vulnerable web applications, and once you feel I'm good, then I would surely say join the bug bounty platforms and then test the applications, which will give you a huge field to play around with. And then while you're playing around with it, you're getting money also, because you're finding the bugs, you're submitting it to the people and then organizations, and you are doing the responsible disclosure to them. So I would say yes, absolutely. Why not? It's a very question. It's a very vague question. That like on my screen, I'm sure you all can see that the SAST and dash tools are mature enough to integrate. To an extent, yes, absolutely. Why not? They are mature enough. That's why organizations are using. But still, there's some kind of intervention which is required. But if we are using the agile way, and we need to go live early, and then the sprints are small, then absolutely they need to have, like, we all need to have these things in the system, and we need to automate it. So why not? And they are mature to an extent. That's why they are being sold in the market, if not fully. So would you suggest some tools which are found to be great fit in terms of features and coverage? So uh, Sneak Premium is good. Zap is good when you talk about adding it to the whole aspect, and then Bandit it's good. And there are many other open source projects which are there. Like commercial, I don't want to name, but I'm speaking purely from freemium and open source perspective. Now we'll take a couple of more questions. I would say that we stop the questions at 10:59, which is 2 more minutes to go. So, what are the key aspects a manual tester must know before starting with learning the security testing? Now, when you are a manual tester, you are understanding the test case manually. So, understand from a security standpoint, like what could go wrong with uh, security if I don't test it, or what are the test cases that might be there from the security standpoint. Like make a checklist of it, or pick up the ASVS and start mapping it with your own checklist. I think that will really help. That really helps. And the people who are working in the manual testing space, they have worked on it, so they really they actually have highlighted this point that ASVS has helped them. How important is it is to have knowledge of networking, operating system, advanced container? See, it's good to have knowledge, but you might not have knowledge of everything. Like you're talking about, I need to know containers, I need to know Kubernetes, I need to know cloud, I need to know everything. You might not know everything. So basics of it is important. Like how the whole thing is set up is very important. Like for me, I started off as a network person, or I have bit of background around development, so it helped me. But it's not necessary to have. As and when needed, you can learn from it. And when it comes to Zap is a tool. Zap is a project which is there for automated testing, or you can do the manual pen testing with it. It's a proxy. So it's completely a different thing. When it comes to cloud, it's a whole domain in itself where you are shifting your applications. So that's a totally different area. But I think it's good to have, but I would not say it's a mandatory to start any security testing.
I'm not sure whether you can take more questions or what. It's already 10:59 as mentioned. So probably let's take a last question. This application, this is something very interesting.
Can we pen test vendor-based application before getting implemented into the client for infra? So yes and no. Now why? Because this is a question which has come up to me in the past, and I was when we actually brought in application security home, this also came home. So there are vendors which will give you certifications, like these are the certifications we have gone through, these are the pen testing reports we have gone through, and we have fixed the bugs. So you have to rely on them. You can't force the vendors to that yes, we're going to pen test you and then we'll onboard you. There are vendors which might not be comfortable, which might give you the third party report, so you want to look at. So probably that will be there, I would say. And there might be some vendors which will allow you to pen test, but most of the vendors might not allow you, so you might have to go via the applications. So now I think I'll have to jump on to another call.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Vanna. It was really nice and insightful webinar. We all got to know about the various different projects under OWASP umbrella. Maybe like people were aware about ZAP or few only like WebCode, but like there are a
Giving
number
you
of
full
things.
history. So, do you want to try and share your screen and just to make sure that